What's up, Pels fans? My name is JP. This is Pelicans Daily, presented by Fan Arch, your one-stop shop for all things Pelicans all the time. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe for all things Pelicans all the time. Without further ado, let's get right into it. This is not something that I'm going to do every single week, I promise, but I started to think more about my trade rumors video yesterday, and there's one more that I wanted to cover that even some fans, some of the listeners out there decided they wanted to talk a little bit about too, so I decided to bring it up, and that's Zion Williamson potentially going to the Heat. If you missed the last couple videos, don't worry. If you want to go back and watch those, we always appreciate it here, but if you don't, that's okay too. I'll catch you up to speed. So Zion Williamson, according to sources around the team and around the NBA, apparently could potentially be on the trade block for the Pelicans. And this has been just over the past couple days. And so we've been looking at a couple trades here and there. Looked at 3 yesterday and commented on some other teams that could potentially be in those scenarios. However, one of the teams I didn't mention that didn't come up yesterday was the idea of the Heat. So do the Miami Heat have a potential trade package for Zion that the Pelicans could be interested in, that also the Heat would be interested in? I think initially a lot of fans' reactions are going to be that the Miami Heat would not be interested simply because of the quote-unquote Heat culture and how Zion might honestly or might not fit into that idea or space around, just because of what we have seen from him. So just on the onset, I don't know if this is a surefire bet, but it's something I put into Fanspo, one of the trade things you can do online. I encourage you to go over there, give them some love, and make sure that you get your David Griffin, get your Joe Dumars, get your GM hat on, and see what you like. And let me know. There's some fans on the last video that really liked it, gave us some great details and some teams that they really like to that they would really like to potentially see Zion go to, as well as some potential players that we can get back. Get right into it. So when I think of Zion, I said this yesterday, I think that his marketplace is all over the place, just being complete and utterly honest with you. So I came up with this. This might be too much for some, not enough for others. You might have to attach a potential young guy like Jordan Hawkins to this deal that I'm about to say. So that might also be part of this, which honestly, of all the people that we have on the team, I feel like Jordan Hawkins is a rookie or a young player, excuse me, that I'd be willing to part with. I really like him, but I just don't think he's developed in a very meaningful way so far in New Orleans. Maybe that could change somewhere else. He seems to be just a shooter with not a ton of other upside, just in general. Nothing bad against Hawkins. I really like him. I love him on the Pelicans. But I'm saying if you were potentially going to get this deal, I could see him having to be thrown in there for just for the sake of value for the Miami Heat. So with all that being said, I think Miami would want Zion, potentially Jordan Hawkins, for Terry Rozier, Davion Mitchell, and a first rounder in 2026. Okay. I know Terry Rozier is under investigation, but he has a 1-year deal, and he will probably do some sort of buyout if that were to actually happen. If he were actually to come to New Orleans, I think that it would be like a buyout situation once he's on the team. Throw him a couple $1 million and let him go. Davion Mitchell is a young wing that's kind of bounced around a couple different teams. More of a small shooting guard, point guard type guy, but doesn't really handle the rock super well, but is definitely a defensive specialist. We have a couple others on the team that I think would pair well with him in the front court as far as like a defensive specialty type group that would do obviously really well. And obviously I would love to have a first rounder this year. The Miami Heat first rounder is probably not going to be very good as far as I don't think they'll be in the lottery. They'll be in the late first round, but maybe there's a player that the Pelicans really like and are looking at similar to Derek Queen in that 17 to 25 range, which is where I think the Heat will probably end up this year, just based on their record and obviously the winning culture of the Heat and what they've got over there. So essentially it's Terry Rozier, Davion Mitchell, and a late first round pick for Zion. And I think that's pretty good value. Some people are going to disagree. If there are any Heat fans out there, I'm sure you'll be able to let me know down below what you really think about this trade. You might be thinking I'm dumb. And honestly, that's fair. I'm just some random guy who likes to talk about the Pelicans. However, I do like the mindset of Joe Dumars getting the best value out of Zion. I don't know if this would necessarily be the best value, but it would also free up some cap space next year to potentially sign a free agent or something like that and make another roster move, which could always happen. Or you could even go younger and just hold on to that space that honestly is covered a lot in the NBA, whether it's via 3-team deals, you pick up somebody for a first-round pick that has a really bad cap hit, and from another team who are swapping some potentially pretty good players. So we'll see what happens. I like this game. I like the idea of Zion going to the Miami a lot. I think it would help him and his career out potentially. It also might make it worse. It might hurt his image around the league if the Miami Heat culture can't quote unquote fix Zion. So I don't know. I really like it. Let me know down below what you think. If you want more, if you would not include Hawkins, and tell me about all of the other trades that you guys like, that you guys want to see. Coming up next, I actually have seen something over the past couple of games of the Pelicans. Maybe it's just because how they've played with the Timberwolves, and I really want to get your opinion on this. I feel like so much of YouTube content these days is just, somebody talking to a camera, which is what I'm doing, and then there being no real discourse. But if you've seen me over the past couple of videos, like I want to talk to my other fellow fans in the YouTube world and comment. I want to go back and forth. I want to talk to you guys just back and forth about my favorite team. So if you are interested in that, comment and give me your opinion on what I'm about to say here. Do you think the Pelicans over the past couple of games have started to show more of a cultural identity than we have over the past few years with Willie Green simply under Borrego? Why do I say this? And it could simply be just because of Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen and how well that they have played, and just the mental makeup of these guys, and how honestly, as honest as I can be about it, how much fight they have in them. Even tonight during the during the Timberwolves and Pelicans rematch, I saw that Jeremiah Fears got a tech in the middle of the game because he was arguing with the refs. And though you don't want some people to get texts all the time, like you don't want a Draymond Green situation, seeing a team and seeing a rookie that is willing to talk to the refs and be like, hey, that's ridiculous, those type of things, is honestly something I feel like we haven't seen a ton in the past couple years. Willie Green, infamously, is not a guy who wants to disrespect the refs. He said so in so many press conferences and things like that. But he obviously did get some technicals here and there. But we haven't seen a ton of fight from the team as a whole. We've seen individual players, like I don't think anybody questions Jose or Herb, but sometimes we've seen other guys like Zion and some other players on the team shrink in those moments and not necessarily fight for calls, be upset about it, but only when it's egregious. I say all that to say this. Over the past couple of games, I have noticed a very big culture shift. And maybe it's small, and maybe I'm reading too much into it. You guys let me know down below. But I think realistically there's a want and desire in this team to be and compete at an NBA level. And everybody says that, and this is one of those things where, what do you actually mean like that? Is that just, a bunch of buzzwords that you're saying? No, I think that a lot of teams want to compete, but when you are one of the worst teams in the NBA, a lot of guys just want to get paid. These rookies want to compete. These young guys, they want to compete. And they want to do everything they can to get wins. And not all rookies are like that. And I mean that seriously. Look at some of the rookies over the past couple of years, couple of rookie classes. There's about 5 or so every year that are just, it seems, to be happy to collect an NBA paycheck and be in the NBA rather than compete for winning minutes, roster minutes, stuff like that. I really like what I've seen from the rookies. I feel like I'm going to continue to say that. We're going to continue to talk about the rookies and everything like that. But ultimately, one of the big questions that I have going forward is how long will that fight turn into a meaningful game on the court? How much fight will these guys get tired of fighting? Will they get tired of competing at a high level? Will they get tired of all the things that they really do on the NBA court and off the NBA court without seeing the results? Because even in personal life, like in my life, it's really, really hard, for example, for you to work out for maybe 2 to 3 months and never see that bench press or that squat max that you have go up. It's really, really hard. It's really, really hard in the NBA, even when you have 82 games, to play night in and night out, to travel, to eat well, to practice, to continue to rehab your body, and not see positive results on the court from a winning aspect. What happens to a lot of rookies in bad situations? Obviously, I think that the Pelicans are in not a great situation right now, and that really stinks, and I hate that. But I think that there is a culture change. And on that note, just really, really quick, and we'll go to why I think Carlo Makovich should play a lot more minutes than he is right now. But I do want to say that I think one of the really underrated moves so far has been DeAndre Jordan. Antonio Daniels talked about it a little bit tonight with Kendrick Perkins, who was on the broadcast for some random reason. Still can't stand that guy, is what it is. You tell me how you feel about Kendrick Perkins down below, and I bet we're pretty similar as Pelicans fans. Anyways, I think that ultimately, I think that he was a really, really good signing. Every time you see him talking to Jeremiah Fears, to Derek Queen, to all the young guys, to Micah Peavy, to even guys who aren't necessarily young but are on the Pelicans and are fighting their way to a significant role on the team, like Trey Alexander and stuff like that. I've been really impressed with them. And honestly, it's been one of the better veteran signings that we've had, better than some others that might have not worked out, like Garrett Temple. I like the guy, but didn't like him as a veteran. But I think DeAndre Jordan is speaking a lot of life into these guys that are on the bench and that are playing big minutes right now and trying to bring them along and continue to pour into them. And honestly, it's been really cool to see. I know it's a small thing. We've talked about this before. We'll talk about this again. Like, you've got to get the small victories where you can here for a team that's not ultimately competing for a championship this year. However, I think it's a really cool thing to see. Continue to watch that. Continue to see how these guys develop and how DeAndre Jordan continues to kind of keep them under their wing, as well as some of these other vets like Kevon Looney and Jordan Poole to a certain extent, and Trey Murphy even, and Herb Jones, some of these like young vets, as Monty used to say, like some young vets who we've got in who are really, really dynamic, who potentially can help these guys reach what they want to reach and compete, not necessarily this year to get wins, but next year certainly. And on that, I beg James Borrego to play Carlo Makovich more. I beg it. I know that Eve is out right now. I know that we're trying to get a lot of minutes for Derek Queen. I just think he can be such a good player. I know he only had 8 points tonight. I know that he didn't blow anybody away, but he hustles so much. He wants every block. He wants every lob. He wants every dunk. I think he's one of this is an underrated thing. If you've played basketball before, if you like basketball, I really think that he's probably one of our best screen setters on the team. He goes into that with a purpose. He rebounds in pretty positive clip for the amount of minutes that he's playing, and all the guys love it. And he's a high flyer. I mean, he had an insane catch tonight for an alley-oop that was just absolutely awesome. I'm not saying all that to say that these highlight plays are why he should be on the court. I'm saying to say that like those Energizer bunnies, those guys that consistently are high energy, high effort guys, they need to find their way on the court more, especially for a team who is searching for any and every way to win. And I think that hopefully tonight he showed Borrego why he should be playing more minutes, that he can contribute offensively as well as defensively and be able to switch on to a guy like Naz Reid. I think him and Naz Reid are very similar. Obviously, Naz obviously shoots the ball a lot better, but as far as matchup-wise, he can guard a guy like Julius Randle. He can guard a guy like Naz Reid. He can guard a guy like Rudy Gobert and have that defensive versatility from like the 4 or 5, maybe some 3 stuff. He's not a guy that you want out, guarding Anthony Edwards, but he's definitely a guy that can keep his own against even bigs who have more fluidity than you might think he does. There's obviously a lot of different things for him to overcome as far as roster depth, and he's one of the draft and stash players that David Griffin got that I didn't really care much about at the onset, but honestly, he's kind of grown on me. I think he could be a really good player, and I hope that he continues to get the minutes solely because I think that he would be a dynamic playoff piece in a year or two if he continues to get those minutes, because obviously not necessarily we haven't seen a ton of different similar body styles to him and how he plays basketball in the playoffs from an extended period of time from such a young guy. And obviously he's not super young. He's around 25, if I remember that right. And I just think that he deserves – he's in practice. He's guarding these guys day in and day out. There's all these positive things coming about him, whether it's from camp, whether it's from the coaches. I think it's time to give him as many minutes as he's willing to take and see what he does with the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? And I think I've obviously thought all that watching this game that, man, I can't keep seeing what I'm seeing and be like, oh, he shouldn't play. Oh, there's not enough rotational minutes for him. I just think there has to be, right? I mean, I think that Eve obviously being out right now definitely opens up a larger window for him, but I think that he could play potentially even when Eve is back. Not saying start over Missy, but I am saying that I think that there's some competitive juices, and for both of them being, that dynamic five kind of defensive, lob threat type thing, I think that both of those guys could compete and play really well as subs for one another. I think it could be really good and dynamic for them as a duo and teammates, obviously. And then there was tonight. It's very unfortunate. I was very bummed to see it. However, the Pelicans lost once again to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I want to be more upset than I am, but at some point you just kind of go into the games, like I said, knowing that you're going to lose. They said, I think Borrego said during the press conference either today or yesterday, said that they were working on fourth quarter, late game, rotational minutes, situation type stuff. How can they prevent what happened with Timberwolves going into OT the other night and then losing in overtime? How can they work on it with their rookies, with some of these younger guys that we've seen here and there? And wouldn't you know it, they did what a young team does. And don't get me wrong, like Trey had a good game. I think all the starters were in double digits as well as some of the bench guys. They scored a lot of points, obviously, again tonight. But at some point, that's not enough. And they did what all really young teams do, really teams with bad rotations can't figure that stuff out, is that the fourth quarter came, they were really competitive for 3 quarters, and they lost in the fourth quarter. And they just got they got messed up in the fourth quarter. It is what it is. It's one of those things that we really hate to see. Eventually, you want to believe that as a fan, these things will turn around. I believe in Borrego. I believe in the guys that are on the team. If you remember a couple years ago, even last year to a degree, but especially I think it was 2 years ago, it felt like there were several games where we were up by 20, 25 points, and we just questioned what was going to happen. And I feel like in more games than not, a couple of years ago, we were losing because the fourth quarter would come or the start of the third quarter would come, and we knew the other team's punch was coming, and we give up 20 points just like that, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? The Pelicans are losing again late, and I'm unfortunately in the realm and the people who believe that this will continue to happen this year. And there will be some wins that we have. There will be some fourth quarter playoff or some fourth quarter. We're not touching the playoffs. There will be some fourth quarter dynamic opportunities for Derek Queen, Jeremiah Fears, and everybody else like that to continue to get that experience that will hopefully pay dividends in the future. We will see what happens in the long run. Ultimately, I think this team will continue to play really hard, play really sloppy, develop the rookies, and hopefully win a couple games along the way, and hopefully find a trade partner for Zion that makes the team a little bit better, whether it's with players this year, players next year, first round draft picks, second round picks, whatever it is. I hope that we continue to be aggressive in the NBA landscape as far as trades and acquiring talent. I really have enjoyed that part of Joe Dumars and his game and his regime as a GM for the Pelicans so far. We'll continue to watch it. The best place to continue to watch it is right here with me, baby. Pelicans Daily. My name is JP. This is Pelicans Daily presented by FanArch. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I'll be in there. We'll talk about it in the next couple of days. We'll talk about some stuff that you don't even know what we're going to talk about. But I promise there's no better person to listen to than this guy right here. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Pelicans tomorrow. And obviously, I appreciate it. My name is JP. Peace.